It's going to be an interesting year for the Temple Owls. This is a program that has had success in the past and was competing for AAC championships, and they've basically just gone downhill since Matt Rule left. And I think that overall the trend is going the wrong direction. But when you bring in a coach like Casey Keeler, you feel like you could have a little bit of jolt of energy into the program, and you feel like maybe you can head in the right direction. We'll take a look at the top 10 players returning or coming to the program for the Temple Owls, as well as make some schedule predictions at the end of the video. If Temple is going to surprise people this year, it's going to be because of the quarterback position. Plain and simple. If the quarterback position plays to the level that's capable of, Evan Simon is going to play a role in that. Now, there's going to be a quarterback battle. That's plain and simple. When you have a new coaching staff, there will be a battle. Evan Simon is going to play a big role. And when you watched him play, you saw the flashes of what makes him so good. Over 2,000 yards passing, 15 touchdowns. He is someone that can take this team to a different level that we haven't seen in a while. And if this passing attack, which honestly was not great last year, it was better than the rushing attack, but it was still 82nd in the country. If this group can take a step forward, you feel like this is a much better team. And with Casey Keeler's track record, you feel like the offense is in good hands. Now, a player that comes in with honestly a huge get for Temple does follow Casey Keeler from Sam Houston to Temple is Jay Ducker. Now, this is a guy who has experience in the AAC when he played for Memphis. He was at Northern Illinois before that, went to Memphis, comes to Sam Houston, has a big year, 745 yards and 7 touchdowns. If you're looking for someone to make a big time impact right off the bat, Jay Ducker is going to be that guy. One thing that Casey Keeler did a really good job last year at Sam Houston was getting his defense to play at a certain level. And this is a Temple team that's had plenty of talent on that side of the ball. We just haven't necessarily seen the results. Javier Morton comes back after a decent year, 48 tackles, 1 interception. The defense was pretty much depleted by the transfer portal, but that's why you bring in new talent. That's why you retain certain players like Morton. And if he can take a step forward, again, this was a group that didn't do a lot very well last year, but this secondary was actually pretty good. And there's a reason why they finished 30th. Now, when you're looking at the numbers for this team, there wasn't a lot that they did well, but defending the pass, they did a pretty good job of it. Javier Morton is going to play a big role in that once again. And if he can get the rest of the players that are either returning or coming in from the portal to get on board with that, they could maybe do that again. Before we continue with the video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and take a look. It takes a couple of seconds. It helps the channel grow. We've seen tremendous growth in the last couple of years, and we'd like to keep that going. Doing a giveaway at 10,000 subscribers, so we're hoping to hit that goal this year, and you make that happen. But let's get back to the video. Another running back that's going to be really interesting is Terez Worthy. Did enter the transfer portal, ultimately comes back, 424 yards last year, 4 touchdowns. Jay Ducker obviously feels like the front runner for the starting job, but this is going to be a, I wouldn't say running back by committee, but there are definitely candidates to make that a running back committee by committee approach. Terez Worthy is one of those guys. Only ran the ball 79 times last year, so you feel like if he gets more touches, he can do more damage. He averaged 5.4 yards per carry, and if you look at the struggles that Temple had, averaging 5 yards per carry is a very impressive feat. Another secondary player to keep an eye on, cornerback Jalen Castleberry. Comes in from Youngstown State, a guy with a chip on his shoulder, played really well for the Penguins last year, and Castleberry is someone who is looking to not only start, but prove that he belongs at the FBS level. Playing at the FCS level obviously gives you really good experience. Now he's taking his talents to the next level at the FBS. And Casey Keeler is looking for competitors. And Brian L. Smith is looking for guys that are going to fit his scheme. And Jalen Castleberry comes in. He feels like he's a good fit, has a chip on his shoulder, and that's the kind of attitude that Keeler needs in his first year. A player that Evan Simon could hit downfield is tight end Daniel Evert. Well, he only caught 8 balls last year, so it wasn't like he did a ton of damage for a consistent amount of time, but he did average nearly 18 yards per catch. Now, tight ends aren't exactly the most explosive players normally, but if you find one that's really good, that's a very dangerous weapon for any offense. And if Evert is going to be that guy, if he can take those 8 catches and nearly 18 yards per catch and basically scale that into more production, you feel like this passing attack is going to be not a nightmare to stop, but drastically better than it was in 2024. Another guy who comes in on the defensive side of the ball with a chip on his shoulder is linebacker Jalen Stewart. Comes in from UMass, and that's a UMass team that a lot of people kind of just wrote off. They had a ton of struggles. The defense was a decent group, and Jalen Stewart was a big reason why. 77 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. This defense needs a facelift, if you will. This needs an identity change, and Casey Keeler, like I said, is going to bring in players that make that happen. He is going to bring in players that have a chip on their shoulder, that bring good energy, and Jalen Stewart is exactly that. Another player who could play a big role in the passing attack is wide receiver John Adams. 16 catches, 194 yards, and 1 touchdown. Plain and simple, if this passing attack takes a step forward, guys are going to catch more passes. They're going to show what they're capable of doing, whether that's the running backs, whether that's the tight ends, wide receivers. Somebody has to step up. And Evan Simon is a good quarterback in the AAC. And I think that if they can take a slight step forward, you see a guy who could potentially throw 20 touchdowns and keep his interceptions under 10. John Adams is going to have an opportunity to showcase to his new coaching staff that he is a capable player. He's going to get another chance to showcase to his quarterback that, hey, I can get open for you consistently. And that's going to help this passing attack. The passing attack that, again, was technically the better part of this offense, but could definitely still take more steps this year. The final running back that we'll talk about today is Joquez Smith. This is a guy who is very good in terms of running the football. You just want to see him be a little more consistent. Only ran the football 36 times last year, 132 yards. But again, this is a new system, it's a new scheme, and it's a new opportunity. This is good depth to have too. Joquez Smith is a very good depth piece at worst. If he is going to be more of a factor, great. If he's a depth piece, there are much worse pieces to have than him. And you look at what he can do, I think that there's plenty of talent for him to thrive in this offense. An offense that, as you saw with Jay Ducker, has the ability to run the football, has the ability to make an impact on the ground. And this is a Temple team, despite its struggles, has the talent at the running back position to make them better. And finally, another FCS transfer in Delaware transfer, Ty Davis. The linebacker comes in after a really good year for the Blue Hens, 42 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, everywhere on the field. Did a little bit of everything for Delaware last year. And again, another guy who comes in with the right mindset, the right attitude, a chip on his shoulder, trying to prove to everyone that he is ready to play. And you're going to see exactly the type of energy that Temple plays with. Casey Keeler demands it. He's going to make sure that the right guys are on the field, and that's what makes this team so exciting. The schedule is interesting because we don't really know what this product is going to be for Temple. We don't exactly know what it will look like. But if they play well, a bowl game is definitely a possibility. I just don't know how likely that is. There's no over-under right now for them, so I set it at 4. I feel like that's kind of what Vegas will probably put for this team. And when you look at the schedule, you kind of see why. The UMass game and Howard game should feel like wins if you're a Temple team that is looking to play with much better energy. You're just in a different place. The Oklahoma and Georgia Tech games are going to be losses, so you're probably 2-2 going to the bye week on September 27th. UTSA and Navy will compete for a conference title, so that's going to be tough. Charlotte and Tulsa currently struggling, going through coaching changes as well, so that's a good way to kind of measure where you're at in terms of your rebuild compared to those teams. ECU and Army, 2 other teams that were Army just won the conference. ECU definitely a team that expects to be competing for a title this year. And then the final 2 games are tough, Tulane and North Texas. So that you look at conference play, plenty of tough games. Winnable games, yes, but tough games for sure. Temple has a lot of work to do. Casey Keeler, again, knows that when he came in and took over the program. He knew that he had some work to do. He knew that he had to revamp this roster and basically change the culture. This will be really interesting. He's still bringing in talent, and maybe after I'm done recording, I mean, they brought in Giovanni McCoy. At quarterback, we'll see if he competes with Evan Simon. He's definitely a capable player coming in from Texas State and before that Oregon State. So there's plenty of talent that could still be added. And again, it's really coming down to Casey Keeler's ability to turn this program around and how much time that's going to take.